Welcome back to We the People. We're here with City Council candidate Brian Swearing for District C. We're just talking about flooding, but I want to move into public safety real quick. It was on your website, and you were talking about response times for fire and I believe ambulances. And as you know, my first job in the city of Houston was the Chief Technology Officer for the Houston Fire Department and EMS. And we did a lot of new technology that improved response time significantly. So that really caught my attention when you were talking about maybe our response times are lagging and maybe we need a new fire station in the area. So why don't you tell me how you came up with the numbers?
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, Roy, let me give you some background. When I had the fortune of serving the citizens on the Citizen Review Committee, I'll never forget one of the very first files I had. And I listened to an audio tape of a complaint by a lady who said that the emergency responders didn't get out there fast enough. Her home had caught on fire. It had been boarding up what was left of it. And she came to check on it the next day. Someone is rummaging through what was left of her house. And she called the police department to come out and arrest this individual that was going through what remained of her house. This was all she had left in the world. And I'll remember that phone call for the rest of my life. She continued every 5 or 10 minutes to call back to the police dispatcher, say, when is someone going to come out? This man is taking what I have left. And one of the very last interactions she had with this police dispatcher was, she said, ma'am, are y'all going to come out today or are you going to come out tomorrow? She was getting very frustrated. And the dispatcher said, well, if you want us to come out tomorrow, we can arrange that too. And I think that that has just brought me more aware of these are the basics that we at the City of Houston are supposed to be providing people. That's what we pay the tax dollars for. And we're not always doing that. The response time we have for the police department is not always acceptable. The fire stations, people rely upon that ambulance service. People like me who took care of an elderly parent for a number of years, when you call them, you need them. And you need them there, you need them with the best trained people, you need the best trained equipment. When we look at ambulance services and see throughout the city that they are very overloaded, that we need to make sure that we have a good response time. I was also shocked to learn that if you're involved in a minor auto accident, the city's decided we're going to go to optional policing, that we're not always going to come out when you want them to. And so if you complain to the dispatcher and say, gosh, I need an officer out here because perhaps the other person's being hostile or we're blocking traffic, we need to get the information, we need someone to come keep the peace, the dispatcher will kind of coax you into saying, well, you sure you don't need an ambulance? Because if you require an ambulance, then they will send the police officer.
Exactly. And the problem you face is if police don't come out, then you could have problems with the insurance company if you get hit by an individual, especially if it's an uninsured. And of course, we live in a city where there's a lot of illegal immigrants, and that could happen very easily. Or like you said, on the police side, that's different. When you talk about police, I don't want to confuse the issue here with the public. You have two different sides. You have the police response times, you have fire, and even you have EMS response times. On the police side, when police come out, it has to be a priority one call, life or death situation if you want somebody out within 5 to 10 minutes. If you want somebody out within 30 minutes, that goes back to the police accident. If you were hurt, if an ambulance comes out, then the police have to come out as well. And they should be coming out as well if your vehicle isn't drivable, because they're the only ones that can bring SafeClear, maybe another program we'll talk about SafeClear, to come out and fill out the paperwork and have your vehicle towed to the storage lot or to the facility that you request. But I want to go back to police or to the fire and EMS, because that's real important, because you're talking about a fire station that's going to cost tax dollars, and of course, as you know, the city is hurting for revenue.
Right.
So how are we going to justify a new fire station if the response times aren't there within District C?
Roy, when we're elected to office, we are held to this high standard where we are expected to be good stewards of those tax dollars. We have to handle that money with extra care, more so even than our own money, because this belongs to the people. And unfortunately, we've kind of gotten off track down at City Hall. We're so infatuated with programs like teaching people to eat fruits and vegetables, teaching people to open up a checking account and how to keep that checking account balanced. There's even a program down there to teach people how to throw their trash away, to recycle, and certainly we need to get back on track. We expect to have adequate police and fire. So we need to get those dollars spent back on the basics: police, fire, and infrastructure. We don't need to waste the money and then come back to the taxpayers and say, gosh, we got this flooding and infrastructure problem. Let's assess you a fee. You know, there's even talk now, the police department, they're thinking about a fee for the police department. Come on, who else is going to have a fee? Fire is going to have a fee? Is trash going to have a fee? Or we're going to fee ourselves?
There's already a trash fee for dumpsters.
We're going to keep increasing and feeing ourselves to death.
But we're going to talk, I've got one more segment, my closing segment, but I'm going to give a little bit to you to talk about fees. We'll be right back. We the people. Welcome back to We the People. I have a few closing remarks, but I want to talk real quickly about fees, a couple of questions here. On your website, you talk about reducing fees. How many fees are there in the city of Houston?
I don't know. I wouldn't know every one of them, but there's too many of them.
Well, I think that's something you may research, because we need you to start reducing the fees. We need to become a business-friendly city again. And one other question. With the protests that went on this past week, they went down by City Hall. What would you have done? Would you let them continue to protest in a friendly manner, peaceful manner, or would you have called the police?
People have a right to assemble, and that's an absolute right of people to assemble in a peaceful manner and make their voice heard.
Sounds like you're for the people.
But on the fees, I tell you what, we can't keep feeing, and it's basically a tax. We can't take something and try to recharacterize it and keep increasing all these fees and say, oh, but it's just a fee. But they're a tax, and they need to be kept to a minimum.
Real quick, your website one more time.
Brian, 2011.
Brian, I want to thank you for coming on the program. This has been the first to talk about your rights and your liberties. I'm Colonel Roy Morales from Houston, Texas, protecting and defending our Constitution and our liberties. We are the people. God bless America.